The November 17th, 2014 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Ansello.
Here.
Mr. Baroth. Here. Ms. Boyce. Here. Mr. Howland. Here. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Mr. Michike. Here. Mr. Morelli. Here. Ms. Taylor. Here. Mr. Yolovich.
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who's not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none. Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite Robert Franklin, the Chief Financial Officer, to come up and present his proposed 2015 Monroe County operating budget as it pertains to this committee, the Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, good evening, everybody. A lot of familiar faces. You just attended the last committee. So you won't be surprised. And I'm just going to jump right in. I don't tell jokes. I do juggle, but I didn't bring any tennis balls. So 2015 budget overview. You recall we break up our budget into generally an operating budget and a grant budget. Each of these areas is increasing a little bit since last year, just a little bit. Our operating budget is increasing about $3.7 million. It's a lot of money, but relative to the size of our budget, it's only a 0.4% increase. Our grant budget is growing at a little slightly higher rate. It's only $1.9 million, but it's a 1.1% increase over last year. So all in all, we are still under $1.2 billion. We're about 0.5% higher from our 2014 budget that was adopted. Specific to this committee, we'll review the goings-ons in our Sheriff's Office, our Department of Public Safety, District Attorney's Office, and our Public Defender. Obviously, you all know the Sheriff's budget for this committee's presentation represents the lion's share of the dollars we're talking about, both in 2014 and 2015. Almost $140 million in gross appropriations, almost twice of the Public Safety Department, and then, of course, District Attorney and Public Defender. Specifically within our Sheriff's Office, again, almost $140 million in gross appropriations heading into 2015. Sheriff does get some revenues from other sources, a little less than what we budget for as amended in 2014. So the net county support is going up, roughly $3 million or so. The Sheriff's Office, broken up into several divisions. By far the largest division would be our Jail Bureau, over $76 million. And the Police Bureau, which most people just kind of generally refer to as Road Patrol, is a little over $37 million. A few things going on in next year's budget. I just want to highlight a couple. Sheriff's Office will be engaging a design consultant for their conversion and renovation of the third floor of the jail inmate housing area and their visiting area. And they're also engaging the design for renovations of the city court holding area. They also have quite a number of older, becoming outdated analog security monitoring cameras that will be replaced with digital cameras. And they had some success utilizing somewhat of a template for their sheriff substations. So they're going to utilize that template and complete their construction and relocation for Zone A. They're also going to be, they have a forensic robot mapping system that'll be replaced in 2015. And for those technicians in the field, some technological improvements are going to enable the technical services unit to process and enhance video feeds from security systems while they're in the field. They won't have to bring those back anymore. Within our Department of Public Safety, it's a big department also, perhaps not as big in terms of dollars as the sheriff. Their gross appropriations are almost $78 million. They too also have revenues. It is a little difficult comparing an amended budget to a proposed budget. What you don't see is a whole bunch of grants that may be coming through. Grants that are brought before this body throughout the year are included in the amended figures, but not the proposed figures. There are a lot of divisions in the Public Safety Department. Last year I put them all up, and you needed binoculars to read them. So I'm just going to give you the three largest divisions. It's our 911 Emergency Communications Division, a little more than $20 million. Our Office of Probation and Community Corrections, almost $18 million, and the broader Public Safety Communications rounds us out at almost $15 million. Give you a little heads up with public safety, a little bit of a change from 2014 to 2015. And that basically, you'll see when you look at the pie chart in the budget book, delineating the portion of mandated versus non-mandated services. Basically, going to 2015, the budget office and I review what is a mandated service and what is a non-mandated services from year to year. And what is going to change this year is 911 emergency communications. It was clear to the former public safety director, and I believe it's clear to the current public safety director, and now I'm going to tell you it's clear to the budget office that 911 as a division is a mandated service. 47 of the Federal Code, Federal Regulations, Part 64, Subpart AA, has mandated 911 services since September 11th of 2002. Anybody dialing the numbers 911, whether from a landline or a cell phone, has to have that call accepted and routed to another phone that can answer it, and that would be a local emergency authority. In Monroe County, this legislative body as a county volunteered to be the public safety answering point. With acceptance of that responsibility, we are now subject to all the federal and state regulations that have evolved with an ever-changing 911 system. The majority of the state regulations governing 911 services can be found in county law, Article 6A, sections 325 to 335. Now, most significant to me in that section of state laws and relative to this conversation is that there is really no practical mechanism or procedure for the county to divest itself or terminate its responsibilities now that we have become the public safety answering point for 911 services. So it is for those reasons that I and the budget office staff have determined that 911 is best represented in our budget as a mandated service. Department of Public Safety does a lot more than 911. They're going to have, going into 2015 as an objective, a special operations paramedic team to be developed and operationalized. And they're going to assist the fire and law enforcement special ops responders. You may recall we have a hazmat team, we have rope rescue, scuba, swift water, you name it. So one more special ops team will be a paramedic team. Our Office of Probation and Community Corrections, this is kind of new. They have to begin an extensive training program and adopt their own local procedural changes to comply with a law adopted this past year. It's the Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act. Now, I guess big picture, that's mostly for preventing abuse of people who are incarcerated, but it's also applicable to those under parole or probation supervision. And our crime lab has been asked to participate in a new statewide technical working group for backlog reductions. We bring referrals before this body throughout the year, accepting grants for different backlog projects. This is pretty relevant. Our district attorney's office has a budget proposed for 2015 that, again, is a little bit bigger than it was in the 2014 amended, a little more than $14.5 million. They also have revenues from a variety of sources, budgeted a little less than 2014, which brings their net county support a little higher, maybe roughly $700,000 higher. 100% of the DA's operations are mandated. And I did want to point out, because this is quite high, but not unheard of for a DA's office, approximately 85% of their gross appropriations consist of salaries and benefits. They work on a variety of tasks. I just picked 3. You'll see a lot more in the budget book. They have been working and will continue working with the RPD and the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies on the GIVE initiative. You know, in prior years, this was Project Impact. Those grants have been ended by New York State, and they've been replaced with GIVE. Forgive me, I don't quite remember what the acronym stands for. I know it's Gun Involved Violence Elimination. I see the commander nodding his head. We're going to go with that. I mentioned part of their revenues. They do have an aggressive asset forfeiture program aimed at confiscating proceeds of illegal drug dealing. And they also have motor vehicle theft and insurance fraud prosecution. I think in referrals we might refer to these as crimes against revenue program. Our Office of the Public Defender. A few more changes going into 2015. Actually, within the Public Defender's Office, their gross appropriations are actually coming down a little bit, as are their revenues. Again, this is often the difficulty in presenting you a comparison between an amended budget and a proposed budget for adoption. If I had the 2014 adopted budget, those numbers might look a little closer to each other. Like the DA's office, 100% of the public defender's appropriations are mandated. And like the DA, a very high percentage of their gross appropriations consist of salary and benefits. Going to 2015, our public defender has a task ahead of him of transitioning his services to a 24-hour operation to provide legal services to defendants at court arraignments. This primarily is the result of a lawsuit brought in 5 other counties in this state. Monroe was not one of them, but these services are coming to a court near you. They're going to be coming to a court near you in all counties in the state pretty soon. Public Defender will also continue developing his regional criminal immigration advisory clinic, and that provides advice regarding the consequences of a criminal conviction to attorneys who represent indigent non-citizens. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation. Thank you. Be happy to take questions at the table.
Before we move on to the discussion, I'd like to ask Brayton Connor to introduce us to his guest he has in the back of the chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a group of Cub Scouts from PAC 67 in East Rochester. They're working on their legal oaths, and they're working on their citizenship pin. And part of the requirement is to come to a public meeting. And so they're enjoying the pleasant presentation and a tour of the building. And we'll see what their endurance level is.
We'll try to make it very interesting for him. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much for the presentation, and now we'll go on to questions and discussion. Legislator Howland.
I'm not sure that, yep, now it's on. Okay, great. Mr. Chairman, under the Public Safety Director's Office on page 493, could you please explain why there is an increase of $90,088 under salaries?
Mr. Chairman, through you, this increase in the salaries budget is largely attributable to a position that had previously been located in DES and is being transferred to public safety. Different role from DES. This person will be essentially overseeing the Monitoring and Reaction Center over by the airport and the activities being performed under our contract with Monroe Safety and Security Systems.
Legislator Yola.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask. One of the things that has stuck out at me, not only in public safety but throughout the budget, is the increase in the risk management numbers for this year. They seem quite high. Is there some specific reason that you could give us for that?
Mr. Chairman, yes, there is a specific reason. What's different this year in the risk management budget is we are now accounting for the settlement of the Sterling lawsuit. That was a settlement reached and approved by this body, I'm going to say this summer, June or July perhaps. This budget now includes roughly $1.469 million as the first year of funding for that lawsuit settlement.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, let's talk about the DA's office here for a minute. I noticed that they're increasing their public services budget by a considerable amount of money, like about $188,000, and yet their salaries are going down by $208,000. Are they outsourcing stuff and doing away with jobs, or what's going on?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, can we narrow down that question to a page in the budget book?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. How about 512 and 521? 512 on the professional services budget and 521 on the salaries.
Mr. Chairman, at least specific to page 512, the appropriation for central administration, I do know that there was a significant reorganization within the DA's office of their various prosecuting bureaus. Quite a number of staff and costs have shifted from one bureau to another. That reorganization affects almost all their bureaus, so you're going to see probably a lot of swings back and forth.
Okay. That's all I got for now, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Yes. Legislator Taylor?
I have a couple questions on the sheriff's budget. The first one is on page 527. Within the Civil Bureau Division, could you please explain why there's an increase in funding under the line item temporary help by $20,800?
Mr. Chairman, we tend to budget our part-time staff in that line item, and while I don't have the specific detail in front of me, increases in temporary help expenditures are generally attributable to an increase in a part-time position.
Thank you. And I have another question through the chair. Within the Police Bureau Division on page 531, could you explain why there's an increase in funding for line item titled Risk Management by the amount of $231,102?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That basically is attributable to the settlement of the Sterling case.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes, Legislator Michike.
Through the chair. On page 502, can you please explain the increase in funding on line item agent contracts under the 911 Emergency Communications Division by $2,760,000, please?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is a pretty significant increase. This represents our budget estimate for the cost of the city expenses in operating the 911 Emergency Communication Center down on West Main Street. Mr. Chairman, the increase is significant. It was $14.7 million both for the 2013 and the 2014 budget, basically reflecting flat funding due to the lack of a formal contract between the county and the city. However, we do know those costs are increasing. There was discussion this past summer about the city believing the county owed them additional funding to make them whole. This 2015 budget represents a reasonable amount of what it's going to cost the county to have the city operate that communication center next year.
Okay. Legislator Boyce.
Yes, through the chair, if you would, sir. In the Appeals Bureau of the District Attorney's Office, I'd like to refer to page 515. There seems to be a decrease in funding under line item titled Salaries, approximately $101,000. Can you elaborate on that decrease, sir?
Through the chair. There was a lot of reorganization in this year's budget, and specifically in the Appeals Bureau, all of the clerical staff was moved in the budget out of the Appeals Bureau and into the clerical services area of the budget.
Okay, thank you. I also have a follow-up question with regards to the highlighted portion of the presentation, Mr. Franklin, through the chair, under revenues for the budgeted 2015. It's decreased. Can you give me an idea of why it dropped significantly from last year? And that would be, I'm sorry, it would be under the district attorneys. I apologize. Did I reference that? Through the chair.
Mr. Chairman, it's going to be a general response, but the large portion of this decrease in revenues is attributable to not reflecting grants in the 2015 operating budget.
Okay.
Okay, Legislator Yolovich.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more quick question. We all know that the Public Defender's Office has upped their time in the town courts and so forth with working 8 to 8, 7 days a week, and now I believe they're going 24/7 in the following year. But I do notice that their salaries are going down $1.1 million, and their contractual services are going down about $0.3 million. How are we going to do that?
Mr. Chairman, a couple things in reply to that question. The 24-hour representation doesn't really kick off on January 1st. It's really more of a planned transition into that. And from my discussions in the budgeting process, it's likely that transition won't occur until halfway through the year. I would also add that this kind of gets to the uniqueness of our grant process. A number of our departments in the county, especially the Public Defender's Office, are seeing more multi-year grants, grants that are received over a 2 or 3 year period. And we're just not able to present for you the money associated with those grants in the 2015 presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
I'm done.
All right, any further discussion? Legislator Boyce?
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask again with regards to the district attorney's budget, with regards to the Special Victims Trial Division, a decrease in the amount of about $278,000 on page 517. It's, can you tell me what the decrease is with regards?
Mr. Chairman, if I may clarify, is the question mostly directed towards the combined contractual services?
Through the chair, no, it's decrease in funding for the salaries in that division.
Through the chair, there's two parts to this answer.
Okay.
One of them, again, refers to the reorganization within the office. Many of the positions were moved into the central administration part of our budget. And then one other reason for the decrease in the budget in this division is that a deputy bureau chief resigned, and the DA opted to not fill that particular position.
Can you further explain that through the chair? What was the reasoning for not replacing that person?
Through the chair, there are going to be additional local courts that are added this year, and the DA wanted other attorneys, or needs other attorneys to cover those, and therefore those are attorneys in the local courts division, not in the special victims trial division.
All right, so through the chair, then follow-up question, can you tell me how many cases are handled by the Special Victims Trial Division? Or let's say like last year, and what do you see as a forecast for this coming year?
Through the chair, it would be a combination of the totals. I don't have the page 375 in the budget. It would be the totals for the Domestic Violence Bureau, Elder Abuse Prosecutions, Sex Crimes Bureau, and Child Abuse Bureau. That's the number of cases that are handled by the Special Victims Trial Division.
So, again, going back not to, I guess I would be concerned with the number of cases that are handled by that division and the decision not to replace the division chief. I guess, is there anything else you can help me with to kind of feel good about this?
Through the chair, it was a deputy bureau chief.
Yep, okay.
Not a chief.
Okay,
And it was a decision for the DA, her resources, she needs people to cover the local courts. And so instead of replacing the deputy chief,
okay.
there's a new local court assistant district attorney position.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Lightfoot.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the Public Safety Committee. First, Mr. Chairman, is a kind of a thing that I noticed on just today, as early as about an hour ago, before I came to the committee. I think it may be just a procedural thing or mistake, maybe. When you look at this county website under our budget, it's listed as the 2015 budget. I've never seen it listed at that to it being approved. So it's always been listed as proposed budget, and I heard them terms used tonight as well. So I just didn't want to mislead the community when they go on our county website and see, 'cause it just says 2015 budget, and you can actually download the PDF version of it from the county website as if it has been passed. So I just wanted to point that out. I could be just, maybe I read it wrong, but I don't remember viewing the word proposed on our county website as of tonight, just a few minutes ago, actually.
Correct.
So I
It should
just
be
wanted to point
proposed,
that
Mr.
out
Chairman.
first. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I do have a few questions, and I ask that, I appreciate the patience of this chairman, and I'm sure it's been a long night for the staff, but, public safety, and for our Boy Scouts in the rear, public safety is one of our largest major components that comes out of our budget. I think it makes up about 23% of our budget, so it is a major point of the county budget. So quite naturally, there will be a little more questions, I think, concerning that. So my first question is just, it was answered a little bit in the beginning with the informational piece we got in the beginning. However, I just wanted to make sure and clarify to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, by changing or shifting the public safety, the 911 Emergency Communications Center, which, in my understanding, Mr. Chairman, in the past has been not placed as mandated, and has been placed as mandated. I understand the reasoning of what was told tonight. Not that I necessarily understand it, but I heard the reasoning. But I guess, does that shift of that, which is probably about almost a 25% shift between 2014 and 2015, does that raise our overall mandated number as to what's being mandated by this county? Does that raise that number 25% as well? To you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, interestingly, I think I understand the question being asked. We'll see if my answer matches it. If we were to, when we restate the 2014 proposed and adopted budget, the percent of our budget that is mandated, we used to say was 83%. With a restatement, it would have been 86%. This 2015 budget brings it down to 85%.
Okay, thank you. On page 493, Mr. Chairman, the cellular telephone went up from $720 to $2,560. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, why such a large increase in our cellular phone usage for that particular fund, page 493? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, this is not going to be the complete answer. We did add one position to this director's office. That is the person who will be overseeing the monitoring and reaction center, who does have a smartphone. Does that explain a $1,000 or more increase in cellular phone? It does not. So if we can have some time and get greater detail, we can do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. Moving on, so I assume that we're going to get more information in detail as to that increase. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, is that assumption correct?
Mr. Chairman, we will provide more detail behind the increase in cell phone in this division.
Thank you. Page 494, next page over, on liability insurance, went from $1,246 to $12,749. Why is the increase 10 times? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, again, that is a substantial increase from 2014. Our insurances are allocated in our budget system by formula. I don't have a note as is the specific formula change for the director's office, but we will also follow up on that information.
Okay. All right, so these are some good line of questioning then.
Any further
Through you,
questions?
Mr. I do have some further ones, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, conflict defender, I know we were talking about that a little bit earlier, my colleagues were mentioning that, but we had, on page 263, talks about the effort of privatizing. My question to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, has the effort to privatize the activity been abandoned, or are we still moving in that direction based on division description? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, at least for the 2015 budget, the thought of privatizing has not been included in this.
So at this point in time, we're just, based on the 2015 budget, we're going to keep internalizing this particular service through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Page 263, again, the county is not budgeting to receiving any grants of state aid for 2015. And my question is why, to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, our grant revenue, while we certainly expect to receive grants into the 2015 budget year, grants generally come before this body for acceptance and will impact the 2015 amended budget. Again, I will also remind or offer up that like the public defender, the conflict defender's office participates in a growing number of multi-year grants, which may have been accepted and would impact the 2014 amended budget, but not necessarily the 2015 budget yet.
Okay. Moving on, page 495, under salaries. I'm not sure if this was asked before or if you explained this when you talked about the shifting in departments, but through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, salaries are up $426,748, or 92% from 2014. And could you just reiterate why, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration? 495.
Mr. Chairman, that change reflects the difference between the 14 budget and the 15 budget in that it was anticipated for 2014 to at least partially outsource conflict defender's office operations. The 2015 budget does not, therefore we need to adjust the salaries budget accordingly.
Okay, so we're not going to privatize, but we budgeted to privatize. Am I understanding that correctly? Through you, salaries, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration? Did I catch that properly?
Mr. Sarley, if I recall correctly, when putting together the 2014 budget, it was not anticipated that an outsourcing contract could have been arranged until the summer. So there would not have been a full year of an outsourcing contract in 2014.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So that would have to be an amendment through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, correct? Or no?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing an amendment would be necessary. We are, for the 2015 budget year, expecting the staff to be here in the Conflicts Defender's office.
Okay, thank you. Which leads to my next question, page 495, where the temporary help has gone up from 0 to 2013, and I'm not sure if this was asked, but why the $13,000 in 2014 to $26,140 in 2015? Do you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
Mr. Chairman, that reflects the addition of an additional part-time position. As I mentioned, we budget part-time staff on the line item for temporary help.
Right. Could you just reiterate through you, Mr. Chairman, the administration, what is that? Is that part-time position details again?
Mr. Chairman, I'm confident is a clerical position.
Okay, is that a new part-time position to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, moving on to probation. Page 266 and 267. I had a question on caseload, but I believe my colleague already asked the caseload question. So I'm gonna move to page 770. And it's more so just to piggyback on what my colleague was saying on the quality of services. If we're losing positions, as it appears in this budget, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, how is that going to be maintained with the shrinking staff? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Quality of services that I'm referring to. And I think I'm getting this from page 770. Yes. To you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, could you clarify if you're talking about probation as a separate division or the entire Public Safety Department?
I think I'm looking at, it appears as staff is shrinking. Is that true to you, Mr. Chairman, to administration, for probation, just for probation?
Through the chair, there's not a dramatic shrinkage. Each year we've been reduced a little bit. State aid to probation over the last 10 or 12 years has been reduced, but there's not a significant number. I believe there are 2 less positions in this proposed budget.
Okay, I think where I was looking, it looks at 1 senior probation officer, 5 probation officers, and 1 probation assistant. And now in 2015, we lose 2 more probation officers. And I'm just, with so few, I'm just wondering how is that we're going to maintain our quality of service to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, probation agencies in New York State have been struggling with this for my entire career. It's all about being better at classifying our offenders, spending more time on those who present a greater risk to the community. We're very careful about using technology and making certain that we're using that technology and electronic monitoring as much as possible. And luckily, the number of arrests of individuals has been steady and even reduced in some areas. So that's come at a good time as well.
Okay, thank you. Page 496, account 504205, commercial services is going from $155,070 in 2013 and $132,000 in 2014 to $1,347,000 in 2015. It's a significant increase, and my question to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration is why?
Mr. Chairman, this is actually a result of a negotiation or consolidation between Department of Environmental Services and Public Safety. Historically, the county has had a contracted agency provide security services for county buildings, and we actually have a small group of county staff who are security officers. They have typically been budgeted for and accounted for within DES, but the majority of their day-to-day, I would say, supervision or strategic supervision has lied with public safety. So in this budgeting process, it was worked out that the 3 security officers and the contracted security would be accounted for in public safety.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have about 4 or 5 more questions, and then I'm done. But 490, well, on that same page, the contractual services see a dramatic increase. Could this be for potential for video reporting options or kiosk reporting for low risk or non-violent offenders that's mentioned as an objective in 2015, page 260? How do we estimate these new options will affect caseloads? And I'm looking for like a breakdown on caseloads and from high to low risk. Or did you get that, or you want me to repeat that through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, whether it's by kiosk or by a more modern web-based reporting system, we will be moving in that direction during 2015. It's not reflected in any large increase of contractual services. We have a software program that we work with, a statewide program called Caseload Explorer. What we're thinking in terms of now, there are some new products available through Caseload Explorer that might increase our software costs a slight amount, but we would be able to have reporting done by video capability by some of our lowest risk probationers, perhaps those who are simply paying restitution. They don't have any needs related to alcohol abuse or drug abuse or gang involvement and so on. So that's not involved in any significant contractual increases. I believe that's solely the security increase that was just described.
Okay, thank you. Is it possible for this committee, for me to request a breakdown on the caseloads from high to low risk? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to administration, is it possible to get such information?
Through the chair, we could, the state literally just changed their classification systems in 2013 and 14. We could get those caseloads change every day, but we can get some basic data through the chair, correct?
Thank you. That would be helpful. Thank you. Page 496, an account 504340 on 496, rental of space. It's $430,260. Is this still the Wegman building? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, through you, we are reasonably certain that this is the lease of 80 West Main Street.
Which is the Wegman building? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so my next question is, why is probation charged with it? Probation is not in the Wegman building. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, this appropriation is here in probation's budget on behalf of the Pretrial Services Corporation that occupy the first 2 floors of that building.
Okay. So account 504510, 11 and 12 utilities. Is this $60,000 all for the Wegman building? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Mr. Chairman, that would be specific to the Wegman building.
Wow. Okay. All right. Page page 266, projected 2015, supervisor fees collected is projected at estimated 2014, which shows a significant increase of about 51%, from roughly approximately 381,000 to 500 and approximately 86,000. What accounts for such increase, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, page 266?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it involves a more aggressive attempt on our part to collect $30 fees from those who are able to pay. $30 per month.
Oh, that's a good thing. Nice. Good job. Page 497, my last two questions. On Fund 97240, probation went from 185,000, let's say roughly 186,000, to 1,595,000 or so. Why the increase, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
Mr. Chairman, while we moved the budget for our security from DES to probation, believe it or not, the systems that are set up to charge back the variety of departments across the county utilizing security services, we didn't want to duplicate. So what we do is have public safety charge the building accounts that reside in DES so that we can use our cost allocation systems.
Okay, it's a tricky accounting. All right, thank you. And my last question, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. On page 673, Fund 403000, federal aid dropping from $366,650 to $21,201, and my question is why, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Chairman, this decrease is related to that grant issue, so this is all grant related.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Yes, Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few questions here. Related to public safety communications, page 270, asset equipment goes from about 22,000 to nothing. What exactly is the reason for the drop? Is there something that was sold or lost?
Mr. Chairman, the 2014 budget accounted for a vehicle that was replaced. No such replacement is necessary for the 2015 budget.
Thank you. On page 500, account 504320, professional services, that's $10.9 million. How much of this is for the M3S contract?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't catch the page number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Page 500, account 504320, professional services.
Mr. Chairman, this would represent only the contractual payment to M3S.
To clarify then, why isn't the amount going down if M3S is no longer employing Navitec?
Mr. Chairman, payments from Monroe County to M3S are governed by the contract that was last amended last year. So each year's contractual payment from the county to M3S is laid out in that amendment for the next 12 years.
So just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, through you, that $10.9 million is for the contract, but nothing's going, but they're no longer employing Navitec, so what are we getting for our 10 million, excuse me, almost $11 million?
Mr. Chairman, correct. Monroe M3S is no longer contracted with Navitec. They do need someone to run the LDC. So M3S is actually, in that amendment from last year, contracting back with Monroe County, the Finance Department, IS Department, Public Safety for the day-to-day management responsibility and oversight and the strategic longer-term planning.
Okay. Page 501, Fund 968690, the MRC building, $80,000. What exactly is this?
Mr. Chairman, this would be an internal service fund chargeback. It represents building charges for the MRC.
Okay. Thank you. Regards to 911 emergency communications, just to go back quickly to what Mr. Franklin presented earlier, I believe the estimate, take a look at the presentation here. I believe you, Mr. Franklin, I believe you spoke to it about what exactly was a mandate. Is that federal or state mandate through you, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, is combined federal and state.
Okay. And through you, Mr. Chairman, does both the federal government and state government require we have a 911 communication center?
Mr. Chairman, it would be the federal government that mandates the ability to dial the 3 numbers and have it ring somewhere.
But just to clarify, the federal government and the state government do not require us to have a communication center. We have to, when you dial 911, it has to go somewhere, but it does. But neither one of those, neither the state nor the federal government require us to have a center. Correct? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
You're going to like this. It's kind of yes and no, Mr. Chairman. The phone has to ring in the locality, so the phone can't ring somewhere else. It has to ring here.
But to clarify, they don't require us to have a communications center. Correct, Mr. Chairman?
I would probably say no, Mr. Chairman. I don't think there's a mandate that there be a building that the phone rings in.
So to clarify then, when we call these mandates, these are mandates that are on us because we've chosen to go down this path of having the communication center, correct?
Again, Mr. Chairman, I would say kind of, or yes and no. The mandate is we have to provide 911 services. This county has volunteered to accept that responsibility.
Right, but to clarify, it's something we volunteered for, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. This county volunteered by a legislative resolution, I want to say back somewhere in the 80s. And with that acceptance, we are now subject to a whole host of state regulation.
Correct. And to clarify, just some of the money that is mandated, I guess maybe you could clarify this for me. How much money does the state and federal government provide so that we can then run the communications? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, we are expecting a little more than $3.5 million.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, what amount of that money comes from the a bill passed both the State Assembly and the State Senate for cell phone chargebacks, which I believe our body approved sometime back in the summer of 2014, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that specific referral for the cellular surcharge is estimated around $1.8 million.
And that's of the total $3 million that we get, or is that separate?
It is part of the 3.3 million and change, Mr. Chairman.
So to clarify then, this budget then reflects that additional money that we're now getting, correct?
The budget reflects the money we should be getting. I'm not sure, we haven't received our first check yet, Mr. Chairman.
Hopefully that's in the mail. Couple other questions. Page 272 and page 502 indicate that salaries are going from 0 to a little over $80,000. Can you clarify as to why that is and if there was any new positions created?
Mr. Chairman, just because I said it before, kind of. It's not a new position, it's a new position in this division. Through conversations between the Public Safety Director and our Information Systems Director, they agreed to transfer one FTE from IS to Public Safety to manage the 911 Communications Division.
Thank you. Page 502, Fund 505035, computer equipment, goes from $3,000 to $155,000. Can you explain why the big jump?
Mr. Chairman, that actually reflects the non-grant portion of a computer replacement project at the 911 center. We do hope to receive a grant for this, but we haven't budgeted for it yet.
Sure. Very good. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, have all the city contracts that go along with the 911 communications for all 12 months of 2015, have those been budgeted?
They have, Mr. Chairman. We do not have a contract signed, but yes, the value of what that contract should be is budgeted.
The negotiations have already taken place then?
They're ongoing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, on to some emergency management questions. Page 507, Fund 504205, Commercial Services, went from $651,000 in 2013 to $0 today, or the 2015 budget. Could you explain why, through you, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I'm being repetitive, but this really is related to the grants issue I spoke about earlier.
Sure. Page 507, Fund 504800, Agency Contracts, goes from $834,000, a little over $834,000 in 2013 to $50,000 in 2015. Can you explain why?
Mr. Chairman, yes, a lot of the contracts we receive through the year, to a certain extent, are passed through to other agencies to provide requested services.
Again, on page 507, Fund 505125, Technical Supplies, went from $31,000 to $3,687. If you could just explain what are technical supplies and why there was such a drop?
Mr. Chairman, again, it's grants related. Most of the technical supplies would be related to grant-specific purchases, technical supplies specific to the objectives of the grant, as opposed to a general supply line like office paper. A lot of the grants are training related or equipment related.
Okay. Moving on to the Public Safety Crime Lab. Just a quick question, perhaps through you, Mr. Chairman, the administration can answer this. Does Monroe County have a backlog in processing rape kits like so many other communities in the state have?
For you, Mr. Chairman, John Clark from the Crime Lab. Yes, we do have a backlog in rape kits.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, just to go off of that, and this specifically has to do with the budget, and as Mr. Franklin talks about is grants. I believe it's the Manhattan District Attorney is now making funds available for grants. Does the Crime Lab plan on applying for some of that grant money to be used for the processing of rape kits?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, we don't, because as of today, our backlog of rape kits is 9 kits total.
So you said 9 kits total?
Yes.
Wow, you guys are busy over there. Good job. Thank you. Page 680, Fund 404,000, state aid dropping from 614,000 to 319,000. Can you explain why exactly?
Mr. Chairman, at least $295,000 of that is grant-specific related.
Okay. I'm sorry, could you repeat that figure again?
295,000.
295. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 770, forensic biologist is being cut next year. Will this have any effect on the crime lab and operations? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, it won't have an effect on our backlog. It was a vacant position that had been vacant for some time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Legislator Barrett.
Through the chair of the administration, I just had well, actually more than just a few, but I have some questions here to ask, and I suspect I know some of the answers, but then again, I hate when I make assumptions and get it wrong. But regarding legal representation on page 672, Fund 44,000, state aid, it's dropping from approximately $977,000 to $75,000. Why such a large decrease?
Mr. Chairman, through you, this really relates to the State Indigent Defense Fund direct aid, which previously was budgeted for. That has been eliminated. Previously, it had been valued in excess of $531,000. That it's not entirely going away. It's being replaced, although the replacement is a series of competitive grants, and those are going to be applied for on an annual basis, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, am I correct to assume that if we were to win one of the competitive grants, it would then be amended into the budget?
Mr. Chairman, it would result in an amendment to the budget.
Thank you. Then through the chair of the administration regarding Mutual Aid Fire Bureau on page 505, the fund line 505040, that's regarding equipment, goes from approximately $293,000 down to about $9,300. Was there some sort of large purchase in 2014? So that would account for the decrease to this year? And if so, what was that?
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is equipment related to special ops apparatus number 9 or number 10. It was a very large technical rescue vehicle that's being housed, I think, at Ridge Culver.
Okay. Thank you.
And it was grant related, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And then also on page 678, also Mutual Aid Fire Bureau, regarding the federal aid drop, it's fund line 43,000. It goes from approximately $267,000 down to nothing. I'm just curious as to why.
Mr. Chairman, that basically is the same answer I gave. It is entirely grant related.
Thank you very much. Regarding weights and measures, and I'm looking at page 280. I have a couple questions here. If you look at the performance measures, it talks about, essentially it has a series of eight performance measures, and 6 of them are pretty much either they're going declining down as the establishment expected, number of inspections, device checked, etc., and then 3 of them are going up, complaints investigated, and then price accuracy, inspections, and items checked. My question is there some sort of shift in focus on the part of the Weights and Measures Department that is resulting in this change in performance measures over the past 2-3 years, from 2013 to 2015?
Through the chair, there has been some changes with our staffing. We've had to conduct price accuracy inspections, which we had not done in the past. And with a limited staff, we have had to adjust our priorities. We made sure we got all our mandated devices done, and we've increased and added price accuracy inspections in there. And the complaint inspections vary on the amount of complaints received.
Of course. And then through the chair of the administration, just so I'm just blanking on it, was the increased inspections for pricing accuracy and the items checked a result of a requirement for the county to fulfill? We have to do this through the chair?
Through the chair, it is not required, but it is a very important consumer protection that we feel deserves our focus and attention.
Okay, so thank you. And through the chair of the administration, there is some degree of a shift of focus, and that's fine. I just want to check on that. Secondly, through the chair of the administration, does the county set the fees or fines associated, or does the state?
Through the chair, the state sets the maximum fines that the county is allowed to charge.
And thank you. Through the chair of the administration, and does the county charge the maximum, or do we not?
Through the chair, the county does charge the maximum fines allowed.
Thank you.
The fees.
My apologies, fees, yes. Then moving on to the district attorney's office, I noticed in the presentation that it was noted that 100% of the funding is mandated by the state and such. And my question is, of the total budget, how much of the funding is provided by the state? Through the chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a clarifying question? Is the legislator asking for a breakout of how much is state aid versus how much is federal aid?
No, no. I just want to know how much in total from state and federal aid we acquire through the chair.
Mr. Chairman, exclusive of state or federal grants that will be applied for and hopefully received in the budget year, we do expect slightly over $1 million in state and federal aid. that is a little down from the amended budget in 2014. About $722,000 of the decrease is grant related.
Thank you. And then through the Chair of the Administration, what's the county level of support?
Mr. Chairman, the county level of support anticipated in 2015 is slightly in excess of $13.3 million.
Thank you. And through the Chair of the Administration, does that include the grants that you referred to that were excluded? Through the Chair.
Mr. Chairman, it does exclude the revenues received by those grants.
Thank you. So through the Chair of the Administration, as we achieve revenues from those grants, the $13 million you just cited would decrease, correct?
Mr. Chairman, if we did not receive those grants, is that being asked?
Through the Chair, I'm asking when and if we receive these grants, whatever we receive will be deducted from or take away from the $13 million you just cited that the county will be responsible for.
Mr. Chairman, while I would love that to be the case, I cannot say that really happens. Often, the DA's office or any department receiving a grant will look for those costs already budgeted for and already anticipated to be incurred to be offset by the grant, but more often than not, the grant comes with some additional requirements, which would result in an amendment to our budget, not only to accept the revenue, but to increase our spending authority.
So just so I'm clear on this, using the 2014 budget as an example, there was a set amount from the state that we received, maybe approximately $1 million through the Chair, and then there was a set amount that we received from federal and state grant funding. And then there was finally an amount that was not covered by any of these sources that was covered by the county. And for the 2014, approximately what was that through the Chair?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I can answer that question at this committee. I will say specific to the District Attorney's Office, a lot of their grants come with pretty heavy non-supplantation clauses. So I can't say for sure just how much those grants reduced the required amount of net county support.
Okay, thank you. And then regarding on page 512 for the District Attorney, regarding the preparation of legal transcripts, I noticed it was a very large increase on that. Am I correct to assume that this is a result of consolidation of transcript services from the other departments within the Department of District Attorney's Office, whatever that might be? Because I saw a lot of decreases elsewhere in other departments through the Chair.
Mr. Chairman, that would be the result of the reorganization and the centralization of these costs.
Excellent. That makes me happy. Moving on to a public defender. Page 523. I know we discussed already through the Chair the number of positions being reduced, and the question is how it was possible. My question is somewhat different, and that is how would this reduction affect legal representation provided?
Through the Chair, although it appears in the budget that there is a reduction on our salary line, that's really attributed to previous grants, 3-year grants this body has approved in prior legislative sessions, and those grant monies are available, they're just not reflected in the 2015 budget. So I do not anticipate a reduction in staff. In fact, I anticipate an increase in 1 attorney position and 1 support position in compared to the 2015 over the 2014 budget.
Thank you. And then moving on to the Sheriff's Office, regarding page 390, why have calls for services dropped from, substantially actually from 2013 down from approximately 207,000 to about 159,000 in 2014, and even estimating it still stays low at $172,000 in 2015. Call for services.
Through the chair, Commander Phelps in the Sheriff's Office. If I could ask the legislature to restate the question, now that I have some numbers in front of me.
Of course, Commander. On page 390 of the budget, it talks about the calls for services dropped substantially. From 2013, they went from about 207,000 calls to down to 159,000 in 2014, and then back up estimate to 172,000, but still below the rate of 2013. Why is that the case, through the chair?
Through the chair, a detailed analysis would require a bit more research than using these numbers as they are. The 2013 number actual is the number calls for service from the 3 zones.
Yes.
As you see there, the 2014 number is an estimate based on, I believe they use the first 6 months of the year through June and then project out what they believe the future number will be. And then 2015 is extrapolated and estimated based on a difference of the 2, which I believe is why you get the 70,000 there. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not. A lot of factors affect calls for service. Severe winters, like last year in December, can affect all the traffic stops, traffic tickets, affect it, as well as when you have better weather, you have self-initiated activity and proactive work, special attentions, house checks, and things of that nature, they can affect it. So to get a detailed breakdown of where time is being spent, I actually get a report on that once a month that breaks down where time is spent. And I can provide you with additional information if you'd like it.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. But in broad strokes, through the chair, I mean, you're talking about, clearly we had a pretty rough weather situation last year, and that would potentially contribute to the spike in 2013, sorry?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Then through the chair of the administration, on page 393, there's a chart about the average daily jail population. And I have a related question, and that is, what is the expected average daily population? What is the approved capacity of the 2 facilities provided combined? Because we expected an average of about 1,400 in 2015. I'm just curious what the capacity is.
Through the chair, 1456.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, am I correct to assume there must be some sort of contingency plan in place that if we were to go over that approved capacity or get to that point?
Through the chair, if that occurs, you get a variance from the commission, and then we realign different portions of the jail to fit the need.
Okay. Through the chair of the administration, on a related note, what is the approximate cost per inmate per day in these facilities?
Through the chair, $143.
$143. Thank you very much. And then moving on to actually page 525. It's a little bit of a detailed question, I apologize, but there's a other expenses line. It's 504,625, and it was that 2013 actual was 4,940, and then we just amended and requesting a $10,000 round. What's the other expenses?
Through the chair, I'll have to get with the budget director and get back to you.
Okay, that's fine. On page 532, the budgeted salaries in 2015 is $1,076,800, some higher than 2014, but the staffing is the same. How is this possible? On page 532.
Mr. Chairman, through you, in essence, the increase would be related to 3 FTEs transferred from other divisions.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for the answer. Still.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps I misunderstood the question. We are on page 532, Sheriff's Jail Bureau.
Correct.
Question was regarding the slight increase in the budgeted salaries from the 2014 amended.
Everything with the word slight, through the chair, yes, that was the right one. So through the chair, is $1 million slight? It's a fair, honest question.
There are probably 50 things going on in this particular line item of the budget. There were FTEs transferred from other divisions here, combined with positions that may have been partially funded in a previous year versus funded in this year. I will also comment that we do have budgeted for step increases. While there is no change to the salary schedules in the back of the budget book, we do account for employees who are not yet at the top of their pay group.
Okay. Thank you. On the same page, I hope it's as simple as answer as that one. On other expenses, 504,625, it's approximately a little less than $500,000 each year, going up a little bit. What is that, other expenses?
Mr. Chairman, this is related to reimbursement for parking, deputy parking.
All of it through the chair?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. Someone might be able to make some money on a parking lot, but fair enough. Thank you. Then through the chair to the administration, moving on to page 533. Regarding the institutional supplies, 505060. And note that it's going up pretty significantly, about 30% or so. What are these institutional supplies through the chair?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if again I could just clarify, is the question trying to make a comparison between 2013 actual and next year's budget?
My apologies. Yes, it is through the chair. As well as to actually ask through the chair what the institutional supplies are.
Mr. Chairman, what the supplies relate to are quite a variety. There are paper products, toiletry products, cleaning products, hygiene products, mattresses. Depending on the rate of use of those products, that may or may not impact how much has to be budgeted for, especially the mattresses.
Thank you. Then, through the chair of the administration on page 535, and I could be wrong about this, but for the line of 505010, it's clothing for $10,000. Did we pay for this before? I mean, it doesn't seem like we do, and if we didn't, why are we now?
Mr. Chairman, the Sheriff's Office will have a Court Deputy Academy. I want to say late summertime. We do provide the first uniforms.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And then through the chair of the administration, I was looking at on page 536, there was in the law enforcement and safety supplies line. It goes from the actual 2013 to 77,000 up to about a request of 276,000. I was curious as to why the increase.
Mr. Chairman, the lion's share of this increase will be attributable to ammunition, especially ammunition used in the academy.
Thank you. And then through, just so I'm clear, through the chair of the administration, you're talking about small arms ammunition, that sort of stuff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's all academy issued for that bureau, and the cost of ammunition is actually going up due to scarce supply.
I believe that. Thank you. Then moving on to actually page 382 and looking at the major objectives, page 382 for the Office of the Sheriff. And it talks about, quote, to continue to increase federal inmate revenue through increased reimbursement rates and borders. What percentage of inmates are currently federal?
Through the chair, we tend to run about 75 inmates in the jail at a time that are there on federal remand, and they can be there much longer than a local inmate. They could be there as long as 2 years waiting for a federal case. There was also a deal struck this year to assist with other transports as they end up going to court in Batavia or Buffalo, and so there may be an increase in inmates due to that new deal.
Okay. And through the chair of the administration, so that's 75 out of a total population of approximately 1,400 or so.
Through the chair, it's correct.
Thank you. And then through the chair of the administration, does this have, I mean, how much money do we actually get from housing about 75 federal inmates? Through the chair.
Through the chair, approximately $3.3 million.
Over the course of 1 year, through the chair.
Through the chair, correct.
It's a significant amount of money. And then through the chair of the administration, I think this is the case, but that is, in fact, on the line on page 692, 43025 FA jail facilities. Is that the correct line?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you very much. Moving to page 395, it's a question of performance measures. Notes that it projects out that about 69,743 inmates have been held or will be held through the 2015 calendar year, and we're only expecting about 60 of them to receive high school diplomas while incarcerated. I mean, what more can we do to actually perhaps increase the rates of those who might achieve high school diplomas while incarcerated? I mean, that's a large number. Through the chair.
Through the chair, Ed Igneri from the Sheriff's Office. I'm the rehab director. And part of those projections are based on a substantial decline last year due to the change in by the state in the high school equivalency test. We're certainly hoping to substantially increase that in the future. However, the difficulty of the test changed and became much more difficult. So fewer inmates were able to take the test and be prepared to take the test in the short period of time we have to prepare them.
Thank you. Then as a follow-up question to that, I mean, I know that the department does a lot of work, or at least does work on assisting inmates who are interested in it, furthering their education doing so. But in light of the change from the state in terms of what it takes to get an equivalency, has the programs of support or rehabilitation or whatever they may be called changed as well to provide additional support, more targeted topics? I don't know, but have you changed what you do in light of the new environment through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, they've basically had to go through and retrain the teachers. Our education services are provided by BOCES and by the Rochester City School District. They receive the funding through the state to provide the teaching staff, and they've gone through and trained the teachers to basically teach to the new objectives. And another thing that we've tried to refocus on is actually recovering credits for students that come through and having them get a regular Regents diploma as opposed to going through the equivalency for those that we can get prepared in the short period of time we have to deal with them.
Thank you. And just one last follow-up. When you say through the chair recovering credits, you mean from past educational work they may have done in school itself, correct?
Basically, yeah, what we deal with is kids that come in and have not been able to finish a school year, so they've maybe partially been through the school year, and they actually have a computer-based program now where they can go through and finish a course that they may have had a partial grade for in the past and recover those credits toward their graduation requirements.
Thank you. Moving on to actually to the Public Defender's Office for a second on their major objectives for 223. It was referred to by my colleagues and by the administration about the transitioning to a 24-hour operation. How will that work through the chair?
Through the chair, at some point next year, either the first or second quarter, the office will begin staffing 24-hour arraignment shifts to conduct arraignments in the town and village courts. This will require one or maybe two, depending on the time of day or the day of the week, attorneys to be on call to receive phone calls from the town and village courts to conduct arraignments whenever there's an arraignment being conducted in one of the towns or villages in Monroe County.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, that would require them to travel to each of the local municipal courthouses or court areas?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. On page 224 regarding performance measures, looking at the appeals for new cases, briefs filed, and closed cases, I note that the actual numbers for 2013 to the estimate for 2014 and 2015 are increasing across the board. Why is this an expectation of further or more appeals in the future?
Through the chair, this actually reflects a couple of previous grants we've received and have been approved by this body that are designed to reduce the appellate backlog in the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. Due to those two separate grants, we've added an additional staff attorney in the Appeals Bureau, and we're also contracting with private attorneys to perfect appeals. So that is why we'll see an increase in the number, significant increase in the number of briefs filed in 2015 over 2014.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, then we would expect, perhaps keeping other things constant, that it would then again decrease moving forward.
Through the chair, yes, as our backlog is reduced to appropriate levels, yes, you will see those numbers come down.
Thank you. I think that's a very good thing. Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions? Legislator Boyce.
Yes, through the chair, if I could, to Commander Phelps, could you give me an idea with regards to the Dare Room classroom presentations? They're increasing by about 250. Do we have a list of the schools that the DARE program is still being?
Through the chair, I can get you through this body a full list of all the schools and all the projects that the community service guys do. It's quite extensive. The DARE program, as you know, has been reduced in some schools due to scheduling challenges with schools trying to meet the state requirements. And so there are a number of schools over the years that have phased out of DARE because they really just don't have time for it. And that's something the sheriff's office will continue to try and promote. It's a priority for the sheriff.
Also, another question with regards to DWI arrests. Through the chair, is there a statistic with regards to the number of probable cause stops for DWI versus the number of arrests? Do you have that total number, or would that be like something that you couldn't even?
Through the chair, I don't believe we captured that particular data.
Okay,
We do have data on total traffic stops,
I see that.
but to break that down by DWI, I can tell you anecdotally, the traffic unit that does, when they make stops for DWI, it's usually an observed violation that's consistent with DWI behavior. So if they're making the stop, many of them lead to arrest.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'd like to thank everyone at the administration table for your very thorough and informative answers. Thank you very much. Okay, we still have a little bit to go. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the October 22nd, 2014 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. And the next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 14-0324.
Moved by Legislator Bitchike, seconded by Legislator Boyce. Is there any discussion? Legislator Brown.
Thank you. I hope we'd have a brief break, but okay. In regards to this referral, I note that well, my question is, how many defendants are represented each year?
Through the chair, I'd have to actually get you a breakdown of the number of defendants that are referred under this grant to the various specialty courts in Monroe County.
Okay, and you'll be able to do that?
Absolutely.
And through the chair of the administration, how is it determined if a client or a defendant is chemically dependent? Simple drug test, something else?
Through the chair, it depends on the individual specialty court to which we're making the referral. If it's a referral to one of the drug treatment courts, that defendant is certainly interviewed and tested to determine whether or not it's an appropriate referral.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The item passes. Next item.
Referral 14-0325.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Howling. Is there any discussion? Legislator Borelli.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, we'd be more than happy to provide that with you. Primary driver in determining to go with this provider was a reduction in cost of approximately $2 million. Through you, Mr. Chairman, could you be more specific?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not quite sure specifically what problems or issues you're addressing. There was an Attorney General's investigation into the current contract holder that it resulted in an agreement with the Attorney General and a settlement with regard to some issues to their business structure. One of the things that we vetted with this new contract is the fact that the company CCS is within the recommended structure that the Attorney General was investigating.
The concerns goes back to the death of an inmate. That was more specifically, there was some issues that came out that specifically were surrounding the death of an inmate. Have some of those issues been addressed? Through the chairman?
Point of order. I'm not really sure how this is germane to the contract with regards to this particular agency when we're talking about another agency that held the contract.
Chairman, if we're signing a new contract, I think it's germane to the discussion to ask that issues that surrounded a previous contract be addressed in a new contract.
Through the chair, from that perspective, we certainly have followed through with the investigation that was conducted into any death in the jail and responded to the Commission of Corrections with corrective actions, both from a policy and an operational standpoint. There are always going to be issues of that nature that we have to address and on an ongoing basis. Part of how we do that is we very closely monitor the contract both internally and with a contracted contract monitor that comes in. Part of going forward, what the Attorney General is looking for is a resolution, not just with the current contractor, but with any contractor in New York, is the Commission engaging in additional monitoring of the contract. Through the chair, the current contract will end December 31st when the new contract and the new company comes in place. They are still in place. We had a contractual obligation to notify them 120 days in advance that we were terminating their contract. Through the chair, all of the inmates are covered. They are responsible for the health care and the mental health care of all of the inmates during their incarceration.
Any further discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Yes, Mr. Through the chair, can you possibly give me a breakdown of the amounts that are medical versus the mental health care? You can't probably get it today, but and then in a follow-up question, with regards to the mental health care, if we can get this information, how do we determine who we're going to screen for mental health? And does that come from the court, or is that something we can do automatically? If you can answer it this time. If you can't, then that's fine, through the chair.
Through the chair. I will try. Basically, we evaluate every inmate. We screen them when they come in. We're required by both our accreditation standards in the state to assess each inmate both medically and then from a mental health perspective. Our mental health screening is most specifically directed at self-harm risk. Our primary concern, obviously, is to not have any inmate hurt themselves while they're in our custody due to mental health issues, so that each inmate that comes through is screened by a deputy. When they book them in, is screened by a registered nurse, and then from those two screenings, we'll do referrals to mental health, and people that we feel may present some kind of risk or may have issues with medication or treatment are referred to the mental health staff.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0326.
Moved by Legislator Howland, seconded by Legislator Taylor. Is there any discussion? Legislator Brown.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, of the $110,000, what equipment is going to be purchased with this? I mean, it's for two purposes, equipment and training. Through the chair.
Through the chair, as with any of the specialized tactics, we don't provide specifics of the actual technology that is available. But I can tell you that there is CBRN suits, which deals with biohazard, Ebola, and the like, mitigation tools, post-blast tools, and things of that nature.
Through the chair of the administration, I guess what I was really trying to get at was about how much is spent on training and about how much is spent on equipment. Through the chair. An approximation is good enough.
Through the chair, approximately $15,000 on training, the rest is equipment.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0327.
Moved by Legislator Taylor, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Approximately up to 300 hours. Through the chair, between 40 and 50 a year. Through the chair, only FBI certified bond teams are permitted in this. Would be the FBI and the Rochester Police Department.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0328.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Michike. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barat.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, the funding that we're talking about here, does that come on all at once or on a yearly basis?
Through the chair, Jennifer Curley from the Sheriff's Office. We claim quarterly.
Quarterly?
I'm sorry, we claim monthly on this. So every month I submit a claim for reimbursement.
Monthly claims. Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, then it would vary, of course, month by month what the amount would be.
Through the chair, correct. It averages around $9,000 to $12,000.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, the referral mentions that program tasks were eliminated to reduce, cause a reduction of $30,000. What program tasks were eliminated through the chair?
I'll let you answer.
Through the chair, due to the nature of the work, I cannot be specific, but I can tell you that the airport security plan changed the mission, and the compliance with the mission required less money.
Okay. And thank you. Through the chair of the administration, one last question. Just so I'm clear, when you talk about the phrase surface carriers, what exactly does that refer to?
Through the chair, that's the airlines.
Thank you. Who was laughing over there? It was a fair question. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0329, acceptance of a grant.
Moved by legislator Michike, seconded by legislator Boyce. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that the grant is this time for $5,000. And in previous years, seems like back in 2008, we received $25,000. Is there a reason why this grant is so much lower this time?
The chair, Jennifer Curley again. That one from 2008 was from Senator Roebuck, and this one was from Rosenhofer. So it just varied. They came to us and asked us if we wanted
Senator
the funds.
Roebuck got us more money. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Through the chair, yeah.
I'm sure he'll be happy to note that. I guess that answers my next question of why there was no grant in previous years. We should have reached out to Roebuck more. Can you tell us just briefly how and where these materials and information will be distributed into the community? Through the chair.
Through the chair, there's actually quite a wide variety of uses for this computer equipment. As the public has become more social media savvy and we've had more video production, there's a number of crime prevention and crime and public education things, as well as some of the investigative needs to get information out. For example, in a missing person case, you might produce more pictures and images and things of that nature. So the computer software we require specifically goes to that. We've begun producing recently crime prevention tips for car theft, auto theft, home safety, burglary, things of that nature. And so it's all in a crime prevention mode.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0330.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Holland. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barat.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I note that there's a pretty significant deduction of this grant, and I don't want to get all worked up about it because I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, referrals 330, 335, and 336 all provide funding for, or at least partial funding for some of the same programming, such as safety seat fittings and things like that. Would that be correct?
Through the chair, just 336, and then corresponding 330.
But not 335 through the chair.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, I'm correct to assume then that the reduction of $2,500 is really not that significant in the broader scheme of things for the delivery of this particular service. Is that correct through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0331, acceptance of a
Moved
grant.
by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Taylor. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, can we get an estimate as to what the current backlog is in Monroe County?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, John Clark from the Crime Lab. The current backlog in the forensic DNA section is about 500 cases.
Thank you. And did we receive more funding this year because of the severity of the backlog?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how they allocate the funds going to the different forensic laboratories.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, is it possible that more technicians are needed to be hired in order to help clear this backlog, or is there something else that has caused that?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, last year we did have a significant influx in cases, and we did bring new technologies online, which should help reduce this backlog.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0332.
Moved by Legislator Taylor, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Any discussion? Yes, Legislator Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, $650,000 divided among the organizations through September 2017. Is the RPD DART team comprised of RPD personnel? To you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, Bob Burns from the Office of Probation. Yes, it's not a specific team. They will put certain officers out on overtime. They'll put details together, but it's all RPD officers and I believe one civilian employee.
Well, thank you. In this grant, it also mentions to you, Mr. Chairman, that enhanced victim services will be provided by ABW. My question is, what are the enhanced victim services that will be provided? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, ABW is our premier victim advocate service in Monroe County, both at the family court level, third floor of the Hall of Justice, and at other locations. They assist with safety planning. They provide residential services if a domestic violence victim and her children need that service as well, and they'll stay with that victim throughout the court appearance process.
Are there any positions in this referral that are new in this grant to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
Through the chair, did the legislators say that are new?
Yes.
Through the chair, not to my knowledge, no.
Being that this is the 16th year of receiving these funds, have we met our program goals in the past? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, the U.S. Department of Justice would only provide renewed funding if we did meet all of our program goals. The dollar amount is the maximum amount that they could provide to a county our size, so that would be a yes.
Thank you. I guess that was more so of my question. Are we receiving the maximum dollar amount? It's good to know that we are. If there is a decrease of $108,000, why is there this decrease? To you, Mr. Chairman, and what is the money being used for?
Through the chair, the decrease is simply by formula, that this is the maximum amount that the Department of Justice had available. And if you could repeat the last part of your question.
Since it's by formula, then there is no necessarily monies that are being shifted, if you will. So the next part of that question was, if there was the decrease monetarily, what was that money being used for? But you stated we're getting the maximum, and you stated that it was more of a formula as opposed to shifting of funds. Correct? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, through the chair, this is $650,000 over 3 years. Previously, we had 2 years to spend a similar amount. So each of the partner agencies reworked the budget, and we're able to continue to provide services with the reduced amount.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, Legislator Boyce.
Yes, through the chair, if I could. Mr. Burns, can you answer the question? I guess, I appreciate the fact that we're working with the City of Rochester, Monroe, or the Sheriff's, or with the RPD, but I'm assuming this is a county-wide program. And to what involvement does the Monroe County Sheriff's or the state police get involved? I know they're mentioning this, but it is a county-wide issue. So how did this come just in the City of Rochester, I guess the question is?
Through the chair, for all of these years that we have applied for this funding, it's been the Rochester Monroe County Domestic Violence Consortium that has been the primary group that's put the application together. The RPD and the Sheriff's Office and 30 other agencies comprise that coalition. A lot of the data is based on, a lot of the funding is based on homicide data and number of calls for service. And I believe all those years ago, the calls for services were far exceeded in the city of Rochester as opposed to our towns. I can't speak to why any other police agencies were not specifically involved, other than the fact that the Department of Justice looked at urban environments and opportunities to reduce domestic violence in those areas.
Okay, and then just a follow-up question. In the original referral, it does say that there was a team dedicated. Now, you had stated that it wouldn't be a specific team through RPD, but is it or is it not? I guess I'm confused. Through the chair.
Through the chair, I don't think you would find officers who do only DART work, so that when they're similar to DWI patrols or details that are put together, my understanding is that there's a sergeant who's in charge of the team, but the team is comprised when they go out and they do specific stops and visits at the homes, and it's a variety of officers are involved in that program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0333, acceptance.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Michike. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barath.
I know there's been a mild, 10% reduction in the match. And my question is, why was the funding decreased for this particular grant?
Through the chair, as with other DCJS grants, their formula, they're based on Part 1, crimes occurring in our counties and the dollar amount that state DCJS has from their federal funding source. So we had no say in the dollar amount that was available.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, of the 24 juveniles who are selected to participate in this, how are these chosen?
Through the chair, the 24 female probationers, first of all, will have to be adjudicated. In other words, they've been in family court and adjudicated as a juvenile delinquent. We'll then look at what we refer to as a YAZI score. That's a classification score that the state requires us to calculate based on their risk and their needs. And the highest risk, highest needs female offenders will be put into this program.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, I note that there are 3 separate 10-week sessions. Am I correct to think that there are 8 participants in each session? Through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. And so through the chair of the administration, those 3 10-week sessions are staggered over the course of time, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0334.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Howland. Yes, Legislator Morelli.
What exactly is the protocol for if a sample of gasoline fails to meet standards?
Through the chair, Terry Honan, Weights and Measures. The failure for the gasoline would be an octane or diesel standard that did not meet the standard declared on the pump. Through the chair, if there's a failure, the station would not be able to sell any more product. The tank would have to be pumped out and replaced with new fuel. Through the chair, yes, there's the potential for a civil penalty to be issued in the event of a octane or diesel failure. Through the chair, that would be assessed through Monroe County.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0335, accept.
Moved by Legislator Howland and seconded by Legislator Taylor. Is there any discussion? Legislator Lightfoot, yes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This grant, $996,012 in its third year has been received. How are these safety goals promoted in the community?
Ginny Satter from Public Safety. I didn't quite hear the end of your question. How are they?
How, through the chair, how are the safety goals promoted in the community?
Through the chair, what happens, this grant is primarily for a staff person, and she goes out and does either seatbelt safety, pedestrian safety, bus safety in schools. We'll go to neighborhood events, tabling events, do different things. Love that nature. Sometimes they'll go to driver ed classes, but that usually is the Stop DWI coordinator that usually does that, but she'll do that. So just various health fairs and events like that.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0336,
Moved by Legislator Taylor and seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Legislator Lightfoot.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every year I ask for this information, and I'm always giving it, and I'm grateful for it. Can this committee get a list of the stations that'll be provided? Because I think, through you, Mr. Chairman, that they actually change yearly, and so I do get calls, and I'm sure maybe some of our other legislators and colleagues here may receive calls, people that just do not know how to properly install these things. So it'd be nice to get that information to share with our constituents. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, this primarily is for a fitting station that the person from the last grant does once a month, the second Tuesday of the month at the City Water Bureau on Dewey Avenue. But it's specifically for referrals for low income, so she actually has to get a referral from Social Services or Health and Human Services, and because that's what we have to prove income eligibility for these. But also on our website, she tries to coordinate with all the volunteer ambulances and everybody else that holds them, and we put that up on our website and update it as we can.
Okay, so that's the only way that she would be servicing an individual person, as, like you said, through referrals through DSS or some agency, I would assume. Just how many referrals would you say she's receiving a year through you, Mr. Chairman, to administration? Or you anticipate this 2015 budget for a year?
Through the chair, I'm going to refer back to the sheriff one. We provide the service. As we get the money, it'll be on the webpage. Anybody can go. We provide it to anyone. And the site for the sheriff-sponsored child safety seat is going to be at the Eco Park. Deputy Nick Ainge coordinates that. And I just got an email. As this came in tonight, I sent him things that we need to update the webpage to get this out, because I know this is a great value. Once I get that information from him tomorrow, I will send it out to all legislators, so you'll have that to put out to the public, because obviously we want to promote it.
Okay, thank you. But going back to this referral, thank you for that, Commander Phelps. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to administration, how this particular position of this female who's working at the water station, I believe you said, the City Water Bureau on Dewey, how many do you anticipate of referrals that she will receive during her time there this year? Do you, Mr. Chairman,
Through the chair, I'm not exactly sure how many referrals she receives, but she performs the fitting station appointments are about 40 minutes long, and she does them from approximately noon to 5 o'clock, so she can fit about 6 people in a month.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0337, acceptance of a grant from the New York State.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Michike. Is there any discussion? Yes, Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, the $166,000 grant, does that cover all of the overtime associated with the task force station?
Through the chair, this particular grant is for specific weekends to perform Stop DWI crackdown checkpoints. So what happens is every agency applies for the grant, so they tell us how much they think they're going to use, and then as they do the checkpoints, they apply for reimbursement. So it's based on what they think they can use, so I assume it covers all of it. Through the chair, no.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, then for of the 10 municipalities that we would work with on this, do they then have the DRE?
Through the chair, no, not all agencies have one, but it's available, like the sheriff's has it, and they're sent out or called out as needed.
And then a follow-up to that is then, does the grant, through you, Mr. Chairman, then cover the sheriff's responsibility when the sheriff's office sends
Yeah,
them out?
through the chair, yes, for the call out, but it's in this one, and then also it applies to the other grant, or the next, right, the next referral as well.
You're referencing 14-0338 and 14-03037?
Yeah, that is correct, through the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Legislator Boyce.
Through the chair, regards to the 166,225 on the crackdown on the weekend enforcement, how are we covering the then onto the court responsibilities that the deputy or
Right,
personnel
through the
will
chair.
have to cover?
Through the chair, that's in the next referral.
Oh.
This is specific for the crackdowns, and then whatever isn't covered here, the agencies can use the money in the next referral for anything else to offset, or any other weekends they do checkpoints or things like that. But these are specific just to the weekends and to the checkpoints, this specific grant.
Okay. Further question?
Not, well, and I, through the chair, didn't quite answer my question. And maybe I didn't phrase it correctly. Okay, I can appreciate we're working on, cracking down on DWI and drug recognition, but I'm asking, that's his overtime for, does this include the time that we're spending on the streets as well as the time that the deputies then in turn are going to spend in court? so we get to end up to a conviction.
Through the chair, not on this particular referral. Court time is not allowed.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0338.
Moved by Legislator Michike, seconded by Legislator Howland. Any discussion? Legislator Barat.
Through the chair of the administration, when I read regarding the funding formula, and I understand it's based on is the base allocation and then it's based on DWI arrest totals. Is it fair to characterize this as something that's trying to incentivize arrests, or is it something that's trying to reflect the costs associated with the population size? Which would be correct?
Well, through the chair, this actual formula was developed by our Law Enforcement Council, which is all of the police chiefs and the sheriff. So they developed this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what their motive was per se, but that they developed this, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years ago.
So through the chair of the administration, you don't know.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. And through the chair of the administration, how much revenue does the county receive from DWI-related fines?
Through the chair, in the budget, it's just under $2 million.
Per year through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. And then finally, this is a nitpicker. There's a list of what municipalities are receiving what. For the city of Rochester, there's a VIP portion of $5,000. Is that included in the $157,000? Approximately.
Through the chair, yes, because it's included in the contract. It's got to be part of the contract, so yes.
Okay. But it would come through the chair from fees paid by the offenders and such.
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Okay. Through the chair. Okay, I'm reading the referral. We're on 338. And I'm not seeing, where does it specifically tell me that this funding is going to compensate our law enforcement agencies for the conviction and prosecution and court time? I'm not seeing it, so.
Through the chair, it's not specified in the referral, but they're only allowed a percentage of their actual dollar amount, but they can claim it for court time. And just a side note too, the district attorney's office also gets some money, but it's an internal transfer for prosecution. The prosecution.
Okay, so that would cover them. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the item carries. And the last item.
Referral 14-0370.
Moved by Legislator Howland and seconded by Legislator Taylor. Any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. See that the city will be paying the county for $500,000 for the period of January through June, and then $1 million for each year after that through June of 2019. Am I correct that that price has gone up from previous agreements with the city of Rochester? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, this contract does reflect a change, but I would like to clarify that the $1 million was paid on an annual basis in prior years. $1 million in the contract going forward is a floor. The City of Rochester will actually reimburse the Sheriff's Office on a per inmate processed fee. If the number of individuals arrested and if the number of individuals arrested falls so low that the calculated reimbursement would fall below $1 million, the city is in essence guaranteeing a $1 million payment. It could be higher if the number of people arrested goes up.
So, to clarify then, if the city, if there aren't, let me think this through for a second. So, the city guarantees $1 million payment whether there's that many arrests or not? Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Legislator Barath.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, how is the $109.92 fee per detainee determined? What went into that formulation through the chair?
Mr. Chairman, that represents 90% of the federal inmate rate.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the November 17th, 2014 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned, and the next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held Monday, December 15th at 5:30. Thank you.